4 foods to avoid when you're battling Lyme disease and what you can eat instead so that you can keep living your life. When you're diagnosed with Lyme disease, there's a few things you'll want to avoid so that you can keep your immune system up, keep a healthy body, and ultimately defeat Lyme disease. In fact, if you don't do anything else at all when battling Lyme disease except for avoid these 4 things, you'll make some progress. Now, obviously, there's a ton more things you can do to get better, but if you don't do anything, if you don't do any of those other things, you don't listen to anything that I share on this channel, but you do avoid these 4 things, then you will be much better off than most people who continue every day making the mistake of eating these 4 harmful foods. So try eliminating these 4 foods and see what happens to your body over the next 30 to 60 days, and you'll be amazed. The first one is sugar. We have to eliminate sugar when battling Lyme disease. This is the first thing that I cut out of my diet because it fuels inflammation, it causes yeast overgrowth, and it causes energy crashes. One of the biggest things that everybody deals with is fatigue when it comes to Lyme disease, but if you're fueling yourself with sugar, it causes your energy to go up, but what comes up must come down when it comes to fueling your body with food that just isn't right. Not only that, but it also interferes with immune system balance and it makes flares more frequent. In fact, even now, after I've been healed from Lyme disease for about 9 years, if I eat a bunch of sugar, the next day I can feel it in my joints. My body just hurts. Our bodies are not meant to be eating a lot of sugar, and if you have a ton of sugar in your diet, you need to eliminate it. When I first started healing from Lyme disease, I used an elimination diet. And with this diet, one of the first things to go was sugar in all forms. If you want to be really strict about this, it means no sugar from fruit, no adding sugar to your coffee, no processed refined sugar like the white powdered kind that you would see in pastries, in desserts, and in candy. Get rid of all of that stuff and you will reap the benefits. But don't forget, there's a ton of sugar in our drinks like soda and coffee and different crazy, those crazy interesting drinks that you get around the holidays. Most of them have sugar in it, so try to avoid them so that you don't get flares, you have a healthy immune system, and you reduce your time spent dealing with this horrific disease. So what can you eat instead? Well, we have raw honey, we have stevia, we have fruit in moderation. Now, if you're not taking this super strict, you can introduce some fruit. What I did was, at first I did no fruit, no sugar whatsoever. If you want to have fruit in moderation, I would suggest simple, small amounts of berries. Berries are extremely powerful in antioxidants and in vitamins and minerals. They're very good fruits for you, and they're usually lower in sugar. Like a handful of blueberries is not going to kill you. As I progressed in my Lyme journey, I started to reintroduce simple fruits like berries or maybe green apples, which tend to be lower in sugar. The whole goal here is to be intentional about how much sugar we're eating, and ideally at first we want to cut it down to absolutely 0 and then start to slowly reintroduce sugar in the form of fruit. But that fruit should be the lower fruit sugar at first until we eventually build our lifestyle back up to normal, maybe a year after we deal with Lyme disease. The second thing you want to eliminate from your diet when on Lyme disease is gluten. Now, gluten is a protein found in wheat, and unfortunately, most people just don't process it. The human body has a really hard time breaking it down. It actually leads to gut permeability, which means it leads to leaky gut. For a large swath of the population, it actually causes immune reactivity. So your body has an immune system reaction to eating gluten. This in turn increases inflammation and can lead to brain fog and weird symptoms that you may not even notice if you weren't sick in the first place. See, many people go with a very low reactivity to gluten without even realizing it for years and years, until one day they're like, why do I feel so crappy? And they get the allergy tests and they realize, wow, I was allergic to gluten my whole life and I'm just learning about it now. Oftentimes this happens after some irritability in the gut, leaky gut syndrome, diarrhea, different kinds of digestive tract symptoms. They start to realize, wait, something's wrong here, and they finally learn that they were allergic to gluten. Now, you might not be allergic to gluten, but the fact is, most people have a very hard time digesting gluten in the form that it's in currently right now today. This form of processed wheat is just not part of our ancestors' diet. It's not part of our body's way of breaking down foods, and our body tends to have a hard time with it, whether you like it or not. That means you would need to avoid things that have flour in it, like breads or pastas, and instead opt for things that are more whole grain, like quinoa or brown rice or cassava or almond flour. These types of grains tend to be easier for our body to handle, and they don't cause the same reaction. Now, a lot of people are surprised by number 3, which is dairy. We do want to reduce the amount of dairy that we're taking in while trying to heal the body from Lyme disease. Why? Because it contains proteins and hormones that promote inflammation and mucus. Not only that, but a lot of times the dairy that we're eating is actually pumped full of antibiotics, which end up hurting our gut bacteria and reducing our gut bacteria microbiome. That means that our immune system gets affected, it suppresses immunity, it can worsen our sleep, and the protein in milk called casein acts just like gluten in a lot of individuals. Most people don't even realize it. It goes as a low-grade immune reaction that people don't realize is happening, but the whole time your body is being harmed from having that dairy. And people don't realize this, so it's really important to realize dairy just doesn't serve you in the fight against Lyme disease. See, one time I was talking to a client who was dealing with all of these immune sensitivity and these issues with Lyme disease, and they couldn't seem to get better. And when I asked them about their diet, they said they were eating a ton of raw milk and raw butter and cheese and a lot of dairy. And I was kind of shocked. I said, didn't you know that we should probably avoid these things, that they increase gut permeability, they can lead to leaky gut syndrome, they contain proteins like casein, but they also contain hormones and antibiotics that can be really harmful for the gut. It just doesn't help our immune system, and it actually creates those low-grade sensitivities or reactions just like gluten. We want to cut that down as much as humanly possible. Now, I'm not saying dairy is the worst thing in the world, but it doesn't have a place in a diet when you're trying to heal. You need anti-inflammatory foods that nourish the body and that help you build a healthy, vibrant gut microbiome and immune system. Dairy doesn't fit that picture. So instead of dairy, opt for coconut milk or almond yogurt or all of the dairy alternatives that are very popular. You can get oat milk and so much more. But those things tend to be a lot easier on the system, and they won't cause those gut permeability issues or the sensitivity or the reactions that we talked about. And finally, number 4 is alcohol. Now, alcohol is simply a toxin. Putting it into our body, it burdens the liver, it weakens detox pathways, which we need our detox pathways working amazingly well for Lyme disease. If you didn't know that, now you know. The thing is, with Lyme disease, our body not only needs to kill off these bacteria, but it needs to clear them out along with a host of toxins released when they die. Now, if our detox pathways aren't working correctly because we're drinking alcohol too often, it means that we won't be able to clear out those toxins. What happens then is it leads to difficult and hard reactions called Herxheimer reactions. These reactions are a worsening of symptoms from 30 to even 100% worsening of our symptoms just from killing off Lyme microbes because we're not able to remove them. So we might be taking the most powerful herbs ever to try and kill off those microbes, but our body might be reacting the opposite direction. Our symptoms might get way worse. And the reason is because our detox pathways aren't working correctly. And the reason that might be is because we're drinking alcohol, which affects our liver and our detox pathways. Long term, alcohol just suppresses immunity, it worsens our sleep, and it magnifies anxiety and depression, which are symptoms that people with Lyme disease deal with every single day. We don't want to make our mental symptoms any worse than they already are, so avoid that alcohol. While it might seem fun in the moment, the next day you might notice a huge crash. Oftentimes, if I go out and drink, the next day I just feel depressed. I feel like a shell of myself. I don't feel happy, and I don't have a particular reason why. I mean, I just had a great night last night. Shouldn't I be happy? But my body is, you're taking a depressant. You're taking a depressant that causes your body to suppress your immune system and to feel depressed. And oftentimes it comes the next day when you feel like crap. So don't do that to yourself. Don't put your immune system in that state. Avoid alcohol at all costs. Now, there really is no alternative to alcohol. Obviously, it has a very specific thing that it does to your body. But if you're looking for something interesting to drink, try some herbal teas, some sparkling water, or even some mocktail tonics. Now, oftentimes these have sugar in them, so you do want to watch out, but don't fall victim to alcohol. I'd rather you have sugar in a little mocktail than have alcohol. Now, personally, I come from a family that loves to drink, so it was very difficult for me, but I ended up not drinking for an entire year while I was getting better from Lyme disease. And what happened was crazy. I learned that I could have fun without drinking alcohol. I could go do fun things with my friends and with my family without having a drink. And then I carried that into the rest of my life. Now, even though I'm better from Lyme disease, I avoid drinking at all costs just because of the way it makes me feel the next day and the way that it affects my body, my sleep, and my energy throughout the rest of the week. Avoiding alcohol is one of the best things you can do to start to get better from Lyme disease. So there's the 4 things you should absolutely avoid when getting better from Lyme disease. Again, they are sugar, gluten, dairy, and alcohol. Cut them out of your life. You're much better off without them. I got 3 free things for you to get started on your Lyme disease journey that are going to help you out. First of all, if you don't have a Lyme disease diagnosis and you just think you have Lyme disease, you should go to freelymetest.com. At freelymetest.com, we set up a free test where it asks a series of questions and it grades you on whether or not you're likely to have Lyme disease. Now, it is not considered a diagnosis, but it is very helpful to know where you stand on a green light, yellow light, red light system to see if you were exposed to Lyme disease bacteria. Secondly, the Lyme Survival Guide. Now, I've been through Lyme disease. It affected me deeply. It was very difficult for me. I was able to come back in an all-natural way without using antibiotics or doctor's offices or really expensive treatments. I used herbs and diet and holistic wellness to get better. And I detailed everything I did in a 6-step manual that you can get for free. The link is below this video. It's called the Lyme Survival Guide. All you have to do is put in your email address. We'll send it over to you. You'll have it for life. You download it and it's yours. This is our gift to you for checking out our stuff and for being involved in what we're doing. And to date, we've given away over $400 to Lyme disease organizations to help with the funding, the advocacy and research of Lyme disease so we can help more people get better, take back their bodies, and feel like themselves again. If you want to be involved with things like that, I suggest joining our free community where we talk to each other, we help each other, and we show each other the path of getting better in an all-natural way. The link for that is also in the description. So go to the description below this video if you want any of those free tools to get started down your Lyme disease healing journey. I'm here for you. If you need anything, comment below, ask any questions that you have. Just go down below and let's get started working together. We've got a bunch of free stuff for you to get started, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.